insect lovers, edible insect channel Skyfood with not on Preteseille. He is...
Hello.
He works for the Asean Food and Feed Insect Association. We are here in Bangkok.
Yep.
In the court of the Ramputri Village Hotel. We just come back from the north of Thailand. What did you do there?
Loei province, where I was trekking for a few days with friends, discovering nice landscapes of the region, and could try some insects in the streets, but nothing.
Okay, but you were not on an edible insect
No, it
expedition there?
It was during the long weekend here, as today is a holiday in Thailand, so a bit of a long weekend. Yeah.
So what is it about to go trekking in Loei province? What is special about that?
Basically, they have very nice mountains where you can trek for 2-3 hours, reach the top and catch the sunrise. It's quite nice, and you can then relax in the small villages where they have some traditional culture and special products to try. There is.
How high is it?
It's a good question, but I will say, well, it's not as high as the Alps, but I will say 1,800 we can reach this level.
So it's also a little bit cooler than...
Yeah, definitely. With Pukradung, one of the famous mountain there. Unfortunately closed during the rainy seasons, but that's for next trip. Yeah.
Thank you, Nathan. I get your email from a friend of yours, probably, Box Cafe in Siem Reap, Cambodia. Tavi Blusar, he knows you also. And I should have remembered you from the conference last year in Bangkok. Also, you did organize that conference?
Yes, so last year in Bangkok for the company AETS, employing me in Thailand. It's a French consulting company. We organized a conference about the EU novel food regulation and the special case of insects. So this was financed by the EU, and we could organize really this event dedicated to the regulation, especially to the case of insects. And ahead of this conference we had an insect dinner, and the chef and the bug at the Cordon Bleu cooking school in Bangkok.
Oh yes, that was
so that was part of it, and just ahead of the big conference.
What was the aim of the conference?
So it was really to support the industry in Thailand in understanding the EU regulation, the novel food regulation, and getting slowly ready to potentially export insect products to Europe.
You said understanding and slowly. So did anybody understand the regulation of the European Union?
Well, it's getting...
Because it must be strange for entomophagic countries like Thailand or something where regulation is not so strict. So,
That's true. But there are also novel food products, and Thailand has been exporting other novel food products to Europe. Could be fruits, for example, that we cannot find in Europe. So that's kind of similar to this regard. And then, well, they see the growing market of edible insects worldwide. So this is where there is an interest as well.
So what kind of people were there at the conference from the European Union?
We had people from the AFFIA, so Wolfgang Geldman taking care of the novel food partially. Also from the Swedish authorities, food authorities, representing the EU Commission parts to explain about the regulation. We had the authorities in Thailand explaining the status of edible insects in Thailand, and also explaining the novel food regulation in Thailand. And then we had people from research and industry from Thailand and from the neighboring countries as well.
From Switzerland?
Switzerland, unfortunately,
nobody there.
No.
So that's a pity, because Switzerland introduced insects as edible animals 1st of May this year. Only 3 species are on the list: mealworm, cricket, and locust. So nobody was there to trade with other countries. So what were the results of this conference? So
it was successful. I mean, all the people were, found it successful. We had really good feedbacks from the participants who could learn more and also see more the interest from the EU. But definitely it was a bit early in terms of application of the regulation, because as you know, it will be applied on 1st of January 2018, the novel food regulation. Well, that was kind of a kickstart on, okay, let's start to work together on preparing the export to the EU of edible insects. And this was also to show how the industry is really organized in Thailand, especially regarding edible insects. Participants could try some insect products and hear more about the work of the Thai authorities on certifying the farms, so having more safety in the value chain of insects from farm to fork, basically.
What do you think are the first products that would be exported from Thailand to Europe? What is the first product that is ready already for that?
Well, I guess it's the crickets, definitely, the gateway bug as we hear, and three main species in Thailand, Aketa domestica being definitely the first one, and then Grillus pimaculatus, Grillus testaceus as two other species. 20,000 farms reported from the FAO in 2013, 7,500 tons. So yeah, it makes sense that crickets will be the first one.
No mealworms produced in Thailand.
There are mealworms produced.
For pet food.
For pet food, yeah. So we don't see yet human consumption of pet food.
So, but the two field crickets, they are not on the list in Switzerland. Will there be on the list in Europe?
Well, it depends, actually. Depending on what is the first priority for Thailand, then they will make an application for one species, and maybe Aketa domestica will be the first one. Once approved, it will be added to the novel food authorized item list, and maybe then the field cricket will come. But I do believe that the Aketa domestica will be the first one.
And who will do the work for application of the forms, and who will pay for that, and who will be the one who gives all the information for the regulation?
Well, I believe it's a good question worldwide on this.
Because it's an expensive thing, novel food still.
Sorry again, please?
Yeah, it's an expensive thing to research for all that.
True. Case of the novel food, of the traditional foods, depending on if we have to do a toxicological study, and the cost above 150,000 euros reported.
Only that's cheap.
That's cheap for the toxicological study.
To the old regulations. So who will do that?
Well, it's still at the stage of gathering information, and it's not yet ready to do. Maybe private companies will conduct it on their own, but I don't believe it will be the case for small startups. They don't have the funds or resources to do that.
And why should one do it and the other only profit? That's one of the questions.
Well, the generic point is also a matter of concern. How generic will that be in case?
Okay.
But, well, we don't know yet who is going to do that. But we try to gather people interested in it, having different types of information, researchers, governments. There is in Thailand since February a working group on the cricket market development, gathering universities, also departments related to agriculture, and the private sector represented by our association. So we have a seat at this working group, and we try to see who has which information, define who is going to collect that. It might be through a crowdfunding way that someone will be financed. This is still an early stage, but in September this year are expected the implementing acts from the EU on the way to really go for the novel food application. That will hopefully clarify some of the remaining questions to start really afterwards. But now it's really at the stage of collecting what is available. We are all discussing with the EU as well, and by the EU I mean the European Association IPIF. We have a privileged connection channel, and I believe it is kind of the stage worldwide, at least for the neutral representative, not the private companies. Some are most likely doing it, especially in Europe, doing their own application, but yeah.
What is the biggest hurdle for the novel food application at the moment, besides the financial side?
I guess the processing time is of concern. The investment cost is of concern because,
for the production,
for the application.
For the application.
Yeah, for the novel food, I mean, there are the two ways, as you know, the traditional food, the novel foods.
Yeah.
Traditional foods will need 25 years of safe consumption. is it possible to report 25 years at least continued consumption, and also with some scientific paper in it, even if not only scientific paper will be considered. And this is still a matter of concern. The traditional food way is expected to be faster and easier,
so
kind
if
of.
it would be a traditional food of the exporting country, that would be easier.
Yes.
Reported for 25 years. But
Will
not
it be
published
easier?
in English, but could be published in
So
Thai.
then there is all the translation work to do as
Yeah,
well.
of course.
So, and will it be easier? That's also more risky because each of the member states will have a word to say on this application. So some questions remain also on which product can be covered and how generic will that be. I don't know if a dossier showing the way insects are farmed in Belgium will be applicable to insect farmed in Thailand, even if it's the same species. I would say it's quite unlikely because the safety concerns will be far different. So those points will hopefully be clarified in the coming weeks, months. Not
Do you
too
see a
late.
potential for that, for the trade, with edible insects to Europe, Western states? Is there a potential for that?
I do believe so. In terms of safety, we are at the same level. Companies
No,
here.
I mean in terms of money, in terms of...
True.
cash.
Yeah. Because for the same quality product, I will say, or
okay.
then we
Compared
will
to-
have far cheaper products.
Yeah, of course.
Because of the environmental conditions, well, labor cost as well, and other parameters. So yes, I do see a potential, and I sometimes make the parallel with the aquaculture industry, which was so small maybe 60, 70 years ago, and which is now so big in the region. 90% of the aquaculture products coming from Southeast Asia and China.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the future of the insect industry. At least for the crickets, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, maybe crickets should be farmed here.
So we have already the papers in Switzerland ready for application for trade of edible insects with Switzerland. Did you have any insight into these papers?
Just a little. I know that there are some also concerns regarding this regulation on the entry of products into Switzerland with specific port of entry from specific airports, only by plane. So it raises concern in the industry as well. Is it really a step forward?
Yeah.
Kind of. But otherwise, I'm not so much familiar with it.
And
So-
Switzerland is small, probably you go for the bigger thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess any country opening its market to insects is a step forward. It's always good, but yeah, there's still some.
What about the FAO? They are also part of this project?
The FAO is not part of the association.
Yeah.
We contacted them here. It doesn't seem that there is a lot of work going on insects in the region by the FAO now. I assume you know Anna from Foento and the article she published on the work from the FAO. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, since Paul Ventom is not anymore in the FAO as well, I guess it's less considered as a priority in the FAO walls. But yeah, I don't have more to say.
I see a little difference between the strategy of the FAO and the way the industry is now taking, because the FAO was based the paper on food security worldwide and on production of animal protein and fat with other sources of feed.
Yeah.
And now with the cricket, we are in the same dilemma as with big chicken production or meat, because they feeded them only and exclusively with chicken feed, so that's not a change, you know. So I thought that the FAO would play a role in saying, don't you want to choose some other insect or some other insect that can be fed with other stuff, because that's not the way we can make a change to sustainable production of animal protein.
True. I agree on your point, but I don't see much of the FAO involvement in this in Thailand.
Okay.
However, I see a growing concern from the farmers themselves on the need to switch to more sustainable diet. Also in terms of cost, it's often cheaper than the chicken feeds. And I see that they are trying more potential plants available around. When they start to see that it's a concern in the global markets, Yeah, for the few farms I've been visiting, I see more and more concern on using better feed for the crickets.
Yeah, because it's very expensive feed, also this big
Yeah.
feed, and they get under pressure, the producers,
That's
if the
true.
prices get up and so up and up.
And as well, there are more and more B2B companies coming, buying the cricket from the farmers, transforming into powder and
Yeah.
selling to small, other companies basically for new food products. Those companies are more and more exigent, let's say, are more and more expecting a cricket fed with clean and sustainable products.
Let's say organic.
Organic,
production.
well, there is no
Because it would
certification yet, but yeah.
It would be also a step that you have to do in the producing countries,
True.
towards safe production standards.
True.
For feed. What's going on in this?
In terms of organic, you mean?
Yes, organic production of edible insects, like cricket, for example.
Well, I'm not aware of any certification yet. Now in Thailand, it's at the stage of establishing the good agricultural practices
yeah.
on the cricket farm. So already all the safety parts. The organic parts will, I guess, come afterwards. That will mean definitely some investment from the farmers to switch a bit from the traditional way of farming. But that should be
And also
coming in the next
licensing
years.
of making the license for organic
Yeah. I mean,
certification process.
true, it needs an accreditation from the Thai authorities to a certification body, and well, it's not for now, but I will say in the coming years that makes sense.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Especially for export into
Yeah.
Western countries.
True.
What about the feed sector? So I feel that in Europe they switched from insects as food more to insects for feed because they realize that the market is not so big as they expected. Probably also that's what we have seen from the products that are already on the market in Belgium and Holland. So I feel like with Paul van Tomme going away, it switched more and more to only the feed sector. Was that a topic also at the conference?
Yes, not during this novel food and insect conference, but recently we had another event and it was also of growing interest. And the insect as feed sector has definitely a big potential, and I would say more demand than offer in Southeast Asia, especially. Back to the points on aquaculture, where a lot of fish meal is used. It's like 70% of the fish meal consumed goes to aquaculture, the feed for aquaculture. Insects have a potential there.
But they're still too expensive for the
Still too expensive,
process,
and still at a too low amount, I would say.
Okay, yes. Okay.
But we have to understand more and more the potential health benefits from using insects in the feed. And there are also other parts. It's too often reduced to fish meal replacement. But it's more than fish meal replacement. It's sustainability impacts. It can have some health benefits. There are more parameters to consider. So, this is a growing sector, and there is a big demand for that. There is no one meeting from the aquaculture industry where the first concern is how do we replace fish meal. Algae to insects are possibilities, but definitely they hope for something coming soon. Yeah.
So what is the next step of you and your company with the food?
So for the association, we now have 19 members in Southeast Asia, industry and researchers.
This means 19 countries.
No, 19 members means 19 companies or researchers
companies,
in ASEAN or countries around ASEAN, such as Japan, South Korea, Australia even. We consider them as associated members. For the company AETS, we hope to be working on development projects on the sector.
Yeah.
This is worldwide a growing concern, so there should be possibly more development money coming for this industry, and we hope to be involved in
From
such
where
projects.
does the money come?
Well, you may know that the European Union is investing a lot in Southeast Asia, more than many other funding agencies altogether, such as Japanese or US aids. It's not often known, but definitely there is a lot of money coming here. And insects are more and more considered by the EU as well.
Okay.
So this is an expectation.
Okay.
But then I guess worldwide, and it makes sense that there should be more support coming for this industry.
So I also see a gap between between the knowledge that we have now about entomophagy in different countries of the world and the small group of insects we consider the right one for agriculture now. So I see that on Africa map there are so many countries we know nothing about the consumption of edible insects. Why not step first to look which insects are eaten worldwide and then which one we choose for agricultural production? Because that's the step we are in now, that we cannot rely on wild-caught insects any longer. We have to choose some domesticated insects for production. Why these 3 insects that are for me not sustainable? Because they use the wrong food. That is in concurrence with human consumption.
Well, in the case of insect as food, at least, because insect as
food.
Yeah,
yeah, both sides, you know. Yeah. But it doesn't make any sense to use insect as feed for an animal that is not as good as the insect.
That's true, and I guess this is where researchers have to work with industries. I mean, the company will have hard time if they start from scratch with a new insect species. So I guess this is one of the points. But yeah, from the research side, definitely, we need some support. They need some support, researchers, to study more the life cycle of other edible insect species from the 2,047 species reported from Wageningen University. Yeah, there is an expected huge potential. We are looking at a few percentage of this list. So I guess both sides will be supported, and the expected beneficiaries of this new food source, such as the aquaculture industry, I guess should give some support as well, because that will solve a lot of their problems as well.
So you think that from the Asian side we will have trade with edible insects in the next few years to the Western countries?
I believe so, at least for the main first insects, that gateway bugs, the crickets. I think it will come a bit. Well, maybe I don't have enough experience in the sector. I've been working for 2.5 years now here, but I guess so, yes. And I still come back to the parallel with aquaculture. That's more and more, I think, species will be specific to specific locations in the world. Maybe we're going to start with crickets from Southeast Asia, which will be exported worldwide, maybe, until we find other insect species which can be properly farmed, maybe in Europe, in the US, and from such a huge diversity of species we could have maybe a more balanced trades worldwide.
And what is the biggest hurdle for that trade at the moment, the biggest questions that are still open?
Sorry again?
What is the biggest question that is still open, that is not solved yet for the trade?
For the trade, well, quantity is a concern, and definitely the consumer acceptance also.
Consumer acceptance,
it's a big point.
So what do you think about that in Europe, in the Western world?
I think personally that it's easier to convince a French friend than a Thai Bangkokian friend to eat an insect, because here there is a history of consumption in the countryside for the poor people, and it's not very fancy. While in Europe there are more maybe concerns about the environmental points, and also some curiosity. If we can convince with a great taste at the first place and a product that is daily available, not only a snack, that should start nicely in Europe. But I guess we should start with the early ages, because we are often trying to convince people who have been eating a meat and a vegetable until all their years, and switching the diets at some age is difficult.
But can it be a solution for the problem of meat production that we have now, that we use 70% of the arable land for production of feed now, for meat production?
I don't believe it's one solution. It's part of the possible tools to reduce traditional meat consumption and the big environmental impact from meat production, traditional meat production. It's a matter of balance, I feel, and we should try to look for alternatives, less energy consuming. I don't believe that everyone should eat insects tomorrow, not at all, but trying to balance with different sources which have different impacts, and as less as possible would, I think, be one of the right possibility.
Which of the insects you eat yourself that are not only for a kick or for for curiosity?
No, I like to eat the crickets, especially in the transformed way, processed way from our members, such as the cricket pasta from Absolutely, the energy bars. Also, I'm quite fan. I mean, I would say once a week, pasta twice a week. I'm consuming regularly. I'm not fan so much of the insects we can find nearby here.
Why not? Because they look strange or what?
No, I don't think
you don't want to see them?
No, I'm fine. I'm fully fine to see. Actually, I'm fully fine to see, but it's more about the fact that it's fried. It's too oily and it's just, and it doesn't have so much taste of the cricket itself. While a steamed cricket or just cooked in a pan has a proper taste, which goes well with chocolate when it's a sweet recipe or anything as a salty recipe. So I'm quite a consumer of crickets, silkworm as well.
Yeah.
I would say
they
that's
are the most eaten insects worldwide, probably. Why not start with them? So why cricket? I always thought, why cricket? We have the silkworm pupa. They're the most eaten insects worldwide in amount, you know. They are cultivated since 5,000 years and eaten, not 25 years, you know, for the history. 5,000 years. So why not start with this insect? I do not understand it. Also, why not start in Europe with the bee larvae that are cut out every year, 1,000 tons thrown away? Why not start with them? So this is not a sustainable development if you look at it carefully.
True. Maybe as you know, the conference in Wageningen with the FAO was kind of a kickstart for many startups to start with this industry, where insects, crickets especially, were highly promoted.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to make another meeting like that, stating that it's not only crickets, and you have other species as well. Crickets are...
So let's say silkworm bee larvae. What do you think about that?
Fine. I mean, I like it definitely. I feel silkworm is like a gnocchi, like you can cook with whatever.
It doesn't look like an insect from the first sight.
True, and no, I think it's a matter of choice, and also, I mean, the production is also maybe more difficult for the silkworm, even if there is a lot of production in several parts of the world. From the mulberry leaves, maybe it's not as easy as taking chicken feed from the supermarkets to give to crickets. So
the byproduct of silk production mainly.
True.
And it's mainly used up in the places where they are cultivated, the silkworm. The families eat them, you know.
True.
And they are used in pet food industry for feeding fish and birds and so on.
That's true, and it's also maybe why, fat crickets are also eaten by pet food.
So I always think, because it's a traditional production of edible insects, the industry is not interested, like apiculture also. You know, in Switzerland, we throw away 100 tons of bee larvae every year, and nobody cares for this sort of highly valued edible insects. So I don't understand if you're talking about sustainable production of animals. So
I was reading.
I don't understand this.
I guess it's a growing concern worldwide, and by promoting one first insects, the crickets. Why the cricket first? I'm not sure, but yeah, by promoting the crickets, we are promoting all the edible insects at the same time. So even if it's not considered a lot, I was reading last week an article from Italy where they are considered more now the silk and the silkworm from the last silk producing factories. So yeah, that's maybe why. But most of the silk production is now in China, so that's also why maybe.
Yeah, also Thailand.
Yeah, but it's shifting, and I can see import of silkworm.
And we started in Switzerland. We have 14 producers of silkworms now in Switzerland, and it will start in France also again, like in Italy probably.
Good.
So, but that's only a joke by the side. But
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, having French insects available in the market will be very great.